New Super Mario Bros. 6th World is a rocky landscape, but despite this, it contains plenty of levels whose themes match earlier worlds, making your journey here a mix of old and new as you recall what you've learned up until now and adapt to entirely new mechanics. 6.1 opens with a Bill Blaster turret aimed right at your face, but what's different about these Bill Blasters compared to ones you faced previously is that they can spin around, meaning you've got to keep in mind which direction each particular cannon is facing via the arrow and dodge accordingly. Thankfully, this first one is one block too high to hit you if you're big, so you'll be fine unless you jump right into it. The second Bill Blaster's a bit meaner, actually aiming properly at you if you're big, but if you ignore him and jump along this wall, then you'll discover a hidden block that can help you gather these coins, I guess. Yeah, that's all this block was for. I'm not really sure what the deal was. This thin ledge cannot be ran upon. You've got to sidestep across. Oh, and if you look below you, you'll notice some coins, which you clearly can't reach the way you're sidling right now. So if you get curious and press down, then you'll start hanging off the ledge, able to gather these coins. The next ledge does the same, but it shows you how your jumps are a little bit nerfed and that you can dodge bullet bills by hanging off the ledge as well. The first star coins obtained by a simple wall jump along some coins. So, is this what this earlier hidden block part was about? Not really sure. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Consecutive wall jumps here will let you nab an item, and doing the same in this next section greets you with the second star coin. I find that things get a little more interesting past the checkpoint since paratroopers are introduced into the ledge mix, forcing you to either speed up or slow down your movements. Up ahead, you'll see two towers of Bill Blasters shooting pretty much everywhere. You could head up now, but if you keep down low and continue avoiding a dark fate, then you can grab the third star coin by hanging off the ledge. While you can beat the level now, let's head up and see what these mini war pipes are about. It looks like they lead into this cute room where you can silence all these Goombas at once. Terrifying. With a hop off a bullet bill to the goal, you can choose to pay 5 star coins to reach 6A, which is reminiscent of World 2. This level explores a bit of a scary concept: Lakitus and quicksand. The reason this combo can be catastrophic is because of the crazy calculative catapulting of spinies that the Lakitu is content with putting you through. They're affected by quicksand in the same way you are, which makes them a little easier to handle, but that doesn't make your lack of control in this quicksand any less scary. The devs, mean as they are, so desperately want you to enter the quicksand that you'll sometimes see some coins baiting you into taking a dive. Don't do it unless you're confident you can breathe sand, with which my vast intellect I am sure you cannot. What's sick about this level is that it contains tornadoes, the only ones that can be found in this game. Touching one will scoop you up and shoot you out as though you launched from a spring, letting you glide down and in this situation grab a star coin after following some coins. The path after the tornado has some of the bait-worthy coins I mentioned earlier. Don't fall for it. This pit of quicksand is in a bit of a funnel formation, very much similar to that of a warp pipe, and if you pick up on that detail and let yourself sink to the bottom, then you'll fall to the bottom of this underground sub-area, where you've got to wall jump back up to retrieve the second star coin, eventually climbing up the right side, avoiding spinies, and possibly getting a hidden block 1-up mushroom in the process before exiting. Despite feeling like this sand pit was purposely designed to look similar to a warp pipe, I don't think it was enough of a tell for players to know that they had to let themselves sink to the bottom in order to get the second star coin. Sinking to the bottom of almost every other sand pit in the game results in losing a life, so if you're asking the player to go against the very logic that's been presented up until this point, then you need to show why this situation is an exception to the rule, and I don't think the devs did a good enough job here at clarifying that. I would have placed a warp pipe at the bottom of the pit, making it barely visible to those that care to look. This way you retain the secrecy and make the star coin feel a bit more fair. The next tornado is in a similar position to the previous one, where you can't really avoid it through normal means and are forced to take the ride over to the next section, where you can obtain a Starman to blast ahead, except you don't want to do that because you've got to take one of these mystery pipes to the third star coin. I bet you'll never find out which one it What's strange about this sub-area star coin is that you come in from the right side instead of the left. If you try to come in from the left warp pipe, then you won't be able to. What's also funny is how the moment you drop into where the entrance warp pipe is, you are trapped there because there's a ceiling of hidden blocks above you, which isn't actually too bad in this case since it guarantees you'll find the next star coin and grants you protection from the Lakitus above. You can get an easy top of the flagpole by activating these hidden blocks and jumping as high as you can. 6-2 here is reminiscent of World 3, which is made immediately clear by the layer of water at the bottom of the screen, but don't be fooled. You're still on dry land, but just have to adapt to the changing water levels. This open first area serves as a quick tutorial on how you and the enemies are affected by this mechanic, where you'll notice that spinies curl up into a ball when fully enveloped by water and float to the top. The water height in this opener doesn't go high enough to pose much of a threat since it's only serving as a teacher. It's when you enter the pipe that you arrive at the main part of the level. Here, the water will pretty much flood the screen, submerging you and everything else around you. What this does is create a hybrid level composed of dry land platforming and underwater shenanigans. A wet dry world, if you will. If you're crafty enough, you can avoid being submerged by remaining above the water level via these higher up platforms, but this strategy has a downside via the floating spinies on top of the water. Your other option is just swimming through the water like normal, but that route is a bit slower, leaving the choice up to you. This palm tree has 3 things of notice: 2 coins and a block. If you jump around it, you'll reveal some hidden blocks, including a vine that leads higher up. Here you've got to hit a P-switch and carefully hop along floating blocks to reach the star coin. Failing this challenge will leave you out of luck with no way to reach the star coin if you suck at the game. If you perform a triple jump off the last floating block, you'll have just enough height to reach the star coin, no P-switch required. Speaking of challenges, there's a red ring one down below, where you want to activate it while the water's high so you don't waste time trying to reach the floating rocks. After avoiding a ton of spinies, you have the option of entering this demon warp pipe, which appears to be quite nice as it blasts you to a sky sub-area with tons of coins and even 1-ups. The downside? It drops you off after the second star coin, which makes this warp pipe a jerk. These other warp pipes are chill though, as they launch you over the hard to reach gap up high. You've got to use the raised water level to obtain the second star coin before blasting over to where the demon warp pipe left you for dead. There's an ever-changing item block here, which ain't just for show. If you manage to receive a Starman from it, then you can chain multiple starmen by hitting blocks in front of you. This is a rare case where a starman actually conforms to the level design ahead of you, which I greatly appreciate because that's something we've been missing out on as of late. Once you grab the star coin, you can head on to 6 Tower, which brings back the grand old skewers who remember you quite well. You've tackled them in the past, so there's no need for the devs to take it easy on you even at the beginning, which is why they placed this first skewer directly beneath an item block to show that they mean business. The second one immediately ramps up the stakes by posing a quick challenge you've got to overcome so you don't get hurt. Same goes for the third skewer, except it grants you a hole to bury your head in. These challenges have built you up to try and retrieve the first star coin, which is off to the left side, thankfully hovering above a small hole. When you reach the checkpoint, you have the option of jumping off the large dry bones for enough air to hit the item block, which would be quite useful in tackling the next set of skewers that leave you no breathing room to avoid them. The spring serves as a quick respite before leaping back up to the door, where you're presented with the final death-defying section of having to platform non-stop all the way to the top without getting a spike up your butt. But man, is it satisfying. This second star coin is better retrieved after you've already reached the top, since you can simply drop down for it. Notice how I said second star coin. The third one is still missing, so don't go through that boss door just yet. The only possible place for the last one to be is above it, so you've got to pull off some strict wall jumps to reach this walled off room with skewers galore. There's really only one safe spot in this room, and it's surprisingly in the middle, so grab the Shining Lad, huddle up in fear, and you can proceed to the Bowser Jr. fight, which takes place on a tilting platform. You don't have to worry about him using a shell as a guard since his mask isn't up. The main issue here is trying to balance yourself as you perform your dance routine with him. Once you prove that you're the better dancer, you'll continue to 6-3, which is reminiscent of World 4, and it's fairly small all things considered. It's just filled to the brim with warp pipes. You begin with a look at an interesting item block with spikes on one side. However, it also spins around periodically, forcing you to time your jump so you can grow up instead of shut up. The first star coin is in a deceptively difficult location considering this bouncing block is your only way up. Its movement pattern is annoyingly unpredictable, forcing you to make jump after jump as the fire piranha to the left shoots his shots at you. If you manage to get this guy under control, then you can grab the star coin and leave him behind by entering this warp pipe. These rolling logs are a tricky deal since you've got to keep jumping to ensure you aren't dropped into the poison below. The game immediately challenges your skill at this by presenting a red ring challenge as soon as you're just getting used to them. Exiting that area will bring you to this section in the overworld that's closed off by warp pipes on the left and right. Oh, a star coin! That we have absolutely no idea how to get. We'll come back to it later. This warp pipe will lead you to some coins. This pipe will lead you to a star coin, and this pipe will lead you to the final underground section, which ramps things up with piranha plants, forcing you to keep a little lower on the rolling logs, but not too low so that you fall. If you manage to make it out alive, then you'll be reminded of that star coin from earlier, but you'll also notice a money bags. If you chase this guy into the warp pipe wall and bounce off of him, then you'll gain enough height to pass the wall and grab the star coin. Alternatively, you can say screw the jumping maneuvers and mega mushroom through these warp pipes so that they wish they were never crafted to begin with and subsequently destroy the flagpole. 6-4 brings back thin ledges, but with fire bars as an added twist, and wow, this first star coin showed up early. Whereas the bullet bills from 6-1 were rather unpredictable, these fire bars are more predictable, but make up for it in that there are plenty of them ready to burn you on the ledges. You've got to commit to sidling upright or hanging down according to the fire bars you encounter, but that doesn't mean they're limited to these ledge sections though. You've also got to traverse regular rocky terrain, jumping through fire bars such as after this item block, or here where you've got to hit a switch and climb up higher to obtain this star coin. Post checkpoint, you surprisingly aren't presented with anything out to hurt ya. You're instead safely walking along floating platforms and jumping along the ledges to take either the high route or low route. If you take the high route, then you can enter the section with the third star coin, which does have things out to hurt ya, but they shouldn't be a problem should you properly navigate these ledges by hanging down. With a warp pipe up, you can grab the flagpole and proceed to 6 Tower 2. Yup, there are 2 towers in this world. This one employs the use of conveyor belts, where it loves using them in all different kinds of situations, starting with these coins next to a wall of spikes. Since these conveyors are moving towards you, reaching these coins without touching the spikes is actually fairly easy, but don't get used to that safety since the very next conveyor pulls you into the spike wall with coins as well. Up here we have a very rare case of a buzzy beetle upside down on the floor. Normally you see these guys upside down when they're walking somewhere on the ceiling, but to be in such a vulnerable state like this guy is here, it's pretty unfortunate. Well, sucks for him because there's a coin making machine to be activated here, and he's the key. Don't worry man, I'm sure someone will drop by to save you. In a couple years. The jumps up the conveyors get increasingly awkward, with them working against you or veering you towards spikes, such as here with ones that are pointed upwards. You need to carefully accelerate, jump over them, and then slow down when you grab the star coin. It's this push and pull between recognizing which direction each conveyor belt is going that makes this level satisfying to conquer. It's always nice when something like observation skills are rewarded in games like these. These conveyor belts are a race to the top as you see a huge dry bone waiting to ambush you. What's especially evil about this section asking you to speed up is that there's a spike wall at the end, so if you go too fast, then you'll also be punished. To add on to this stress, the item block above is off center from the ground. The next set of conveyor belts ups the game even more by placing spikes on the sides of them, and the moment you think you're safe after entering a warp pipe, you get shot back into the action. All this resulting in a pretty natural progression of difficulty difficulty, albeit having some moments of, wow, that was kind of mean, mixed in. Like, come on, there's even some spikes on the ceiling up here. Who's gonna get hit by them? I swear the devs placed them here just because they thought it would look cool, and it worked. The second star coin is in an odd spot where you've got to break a couple blocks below it, but if you're big then you need to crouch as well, which limits your movement as the spike tops walk around with you. This means you've got to do some small hops along the conveyor belt to adjust your position in order to nab it. The third star coin can be obtained by either huddling up with the conveyor belt and jumping from below, or by climbing along the rope and dropping from above. It's up to you how you want to face these annoying spikes that are just everywhere. After shooting out of the warp pipe, you'll face Bowser Jr. for the second time this world, where he's learned from before, now defending against your jumps. This battle is deceptively difficult, since not only do you have to deal with the shell state, but the arena's tilting, there's insta-death lava below you, Podoboos popping out the sides, and Junior's throwing shells at you, which you need to properly time your jumps on in order to defeat him. It can be a lot, but once you get the hang of it, you'll move on to 6-5, which is a non-auto-scrolling underwater level. Off to a good start. This abyss is the only level that contains deep cheeps, which, unlike normal cheeps, will lock eyes with you and swim towards you. But they aren't the best at their jobs, so think of them as more like lethargic, unmotivated missiles. The first time they'll likely cause you trouble is around the first star coin, where you can take advantage of their apathy by simply swimming past them. This red ring challenge wants you swimming up and down over and over before showing you a whirlpool. Now this is interesting. If you recall, 6A had similar looking formations, tornadoes. Entering those would suck you in and spit you out way high. So what does this whirlpool do? It brings you in and keeps bringing you in. When you show the player two mechanics that appear visually similar, then they're going to assume that they function similarly as well unless proven otherwise. Yes, one is on land and one is underwater, but that's still no reason to believe that this whirlpool is gonna function any different than the tornado. I mean, we've seen water push us out earlier in this game before, so it's definitely a possibility. Perhaps it would have been better to place an enemy here that you can see getting sucked in, or if you don't want enemies to be compromised, you could have the coin bubbles get sucked in. Regardless, you can overcome the whirlpool by button mashing or waiting for it to shrink, which it does so periodically. While I'd love to say that the next section has some cool designs about it, I can't, because it's honestly a little bare bones. All you do is swim through an empty corridor, and while you can obtain a Starman and devour a bunch of cheeps, it feels more like eye candy than engaging gameplay. Thankfully, it returns to form with another whirlpool, but with a deep cheep this time, forcing you to maintain a certain height while within the whirlpool, or waiting the whirlpool out and dodging the deep cheep, which is a neat combo of mechanics. Heading up to this warp pipe is where you'll find the second star coin, guarded by tons of deep cheeps coming at you from every angle. I like how chaotic this place feels, almost like you've entered their den. The next couple whirlpools also employ deep cheeps as awkward obstacles, with this last one kinda luring you in, saying everything's gonna be okay with the block serving as an olive branch. If you choose to accept it, then you can grab the third star coin and head back to meet the big boy deep cheeps. The coins are your friends though and tell you which way to go so that you may end this level, which I find to be fairly mediocre all things considered and wouldn't draw many positive lessons from in terms of game design. 6B is reminiscent of World 5, having you platform way up in the icy mountaintops. To really sell this concept, you've got to enter a warp pipe to blast your way up there. You'll see a stationary rope which dangles when you latch onto it. This one's fairly safe and lets you remember how the rope mechanics work so that you can make it to the other side where you'll see a moving rope. This increase in difficulty, where the rope is moving in a different pattern versus the previous one, repeats a few times until you come across the first star coin. This guy is way lower than you can handle, but we've got a sacrifice on our hands. Throw him down like the pawn he is and continue to the tilting mushrooms, they're back! We saw them in 4.2 and now they've returned to grace us with their presence. Placing these mushrooms that you can slide off of in a level with ice where you can easily slide down the slopes was a clever combo that I didn't expect. The second star coin can be grabbed by jumping off this paratroopa where you need to blast up to an icy ledge once more. At the checkpoint here, there are piranha plants growing out of ice again. Ignoring those anomalies, you can gleefully slide way down the level, kicking away enemy after enemy. But if you wanted a taste of the ever-changing item block, then you can instead stop your sliding and jump to the top route. If you take the left warp pipe, it'll blast you at just the right angle to squeeze through this one blocked gap. The right warp pipe will blast you to the top route, having you slide up and down and ending off at the same spot. The middle warp pipe? It isn't as kind as its siblings because it simply spits you out and onto the cold surface. There are 2 ropes hanging here above a pit. With them, you need to jump from one to the other to cross, and if you do so on the second one with a high jump, you'll land next to the 3rd star coin. Getting to it would be easy if you were small, but if you're big, then you've got to awkwardly slide and whoa! The blockade just exploded randomly. What was that about? There aren't any bombs in this level, nor anything that looks like it could have caused this explosion or collapse. So why did this happen? Was it a test of some sort? A challenge? Was it created just to blow up and look cool? I have no clue. The final section gives us the choice of sliding down the bottom or entering one of the warp pipes above. The left one blasts you to the bottom of the flagpole, the middle one blasts you to the middle, and the right one blasts you to the top. I think it would have been cool if these warp pipes blast angles matched that of the earlier 3, rewarding players for memorizing each one. 6-6 is the only level in the game to have chain chomps, which can be defeated by ground pounding its post down. This first spring can bonk you onto an item block, showing you their usefulness and how they're absolutely gonna be an important mechanic to use in this level. Heck, the second spring is directly after the introductory chain chomp, where you can either progress or drill through all these blocks to hit another item block. A rare case of 2 item blocks being placed fairly close together. The level layout here gets a little open, all things considered. You can take this left route to face another chain chomp and hop off some paratroopas. Ignore the spring and take the top route, hopping off the paratroopas there, or springing up through this column of coins, given the option of squeezing through the hole to the right or dropping back down to the paratroopa path. This latter path, by the way, is where you'll encounter the 2nd star coin. It's guarded by 2 columns of blocks, a subtle indicator that you probably aren't supposed to get through them by chucking shells over and over. This suspicion is confirmed when you discover this P-switch, that once reached will open up the gateway to the star coin. Heading over to the right, springing up, and returning to the left will meet you with the 2nd star coin guarded by a chain chomp. This is pretty easy to overcome and almost feels like a distraction from the real prize. If you leap to and stand on this ledge here, you can barely see an opening on the top left part of your screen, which looks flat out unreachable. Jumping around out of desperation will meet your noggin with a hidden block that you can then climb upon to access this secret area, which only contains a 1-up. This isn't the prize I was referring to, by the way. The real prize was the challenge we faced along the way. Before progressing, you have the option of destroying all of these blocks and nabbing 10 coins for your troubles. These warp pipes on the side of the mountain have no bearing on the gameplay whatsoever and simply serve as an aesthetic. I dig that. This red ring challenge is unique in that you've got to be gliding slowly down to complete it, finishing with a bounce off this Koopa Troopa. The green warp pipe up here is just begging for us to reach it, but this setup is a rather unique one. It's barricaded by 2 columns of blocks, has a Koopa and Paratroopa below it, and there's a P-switch up high. The trick here is that you've got to clear out this hole, spring up, bounce off the Paratroopa to hit the P-switch, and then bounce off the Koopa Troopa to reach the pipe. I really like the complexity of this maneuver and how it gives you enough pieces of the puzzle to come up with the solution yourself. And it's well worth it too, because it eventually leads you to the 3rd star coin, something you would have skipped had you taken the normal route. Both routes, however, lead to the same place, where there are tons of pipes, forcing you to shoot out of one after the other, scaling higher and higher up these pipes until you reach the very top, where you've got to try your luck at choosing the correct warp pipe to nail the peak of the flagpole. We are now entering 6 Castle, which is arguably the most platform-heavy castle in the entire game. Literally, there are tons of stone platforms in this place. Most of them will be moving horizontally, necessitating you to keep track of their placements and make your leaps accordingly. The first one is fairly simple, with the next couple throwing an enemy on platform along with a potaboo to mess with your timing. This is the kind of gimmick where you can feel comfortable 1 second just to slip and fall into the lava the next, so you've gotta focus, especially when it comes to that first star coin. You obviously can't take a dip into the lava yourself for it, so now it's time to make yet another sacrifice. The second star coin requires an awkward maneuver considering it's in a tight space close to the lava. Keep in mind you haven't reached the checkpoint yet either, so this can get a bit scary, but there's nothing to criticize in terms of difficulty here. It's certainly ramping things up in a slow and fair way. Once you reach the checkpoint, you can either wall jump your way to the top route or keep on the bottom route. Both paths lead to the same place though, which makes you wonder what the point of this top route was in the first place. There aren't even any goodies up here, but it's then that you realize that the third star coin hasn't shown up yet. If you leap from this route, then you can land on top of the ceiling, where you'll discover the hidden star coin. The main route has you dodging and weaving concrete that wants to smash your face in, followed by a door to the next section. But it doesn't show you that you missed the star coin, which I feel is a missed opportunity. While it is cool that you reach it via this top route, there's no actual indicator that it's there, so you're pretty much left to guess. Placing a few coins that lead to the top of these slabs of concrete, or moving the star coin into the camera's view at the end of this hallway could have solved this issue. The final section is a simple matter of climbing stone platform after stone platform before you enter an outdoor area. The boss takes place in an outdoor area? Yup, because this place is home to the Monty Tank Boss, one of my favorites in this game. The Monty Mole will throw bombs at you from above while his tank shoots bullet bills out of its cannon. You might think you're clever by moving to the opposite side of the cannon, but you'll quickly realize that it can turn around. Monty is sticking out though, and it looks to be an easy boot to the head, which it is. This causes him to retreat into the tank and freak out, shooting bullet bills everywhere. It's then that the tank reveals its second form, another layer with its own bullet bill cannon attached to it. What's cool is that these cannons can shoot on opposite ends if they like, all the while the Monty Mole throws down bombs at you. If you somehow manage to overcome all this chaos, you can hit him on the head once more to enter the final phase, a triple layered tank with 3 cannons and more bombs. This is already tough enough to handle with the increase of bullet bills and added height, but your jumps will no longer work since the Monty Mole has gone against the boss rulebook by learning from how you've been attacking and adapting its strategy accordingly. Yeah, you can't jump on his head anymore, leaving you to throw his very own bombs right back at him for the final blow. But what if you brought a Mega Mushroom to the battlefield and hugified yourself? You'd find that somehow, some way, his tank is able to ward off your advances. It's only when you make a leap to the skies that you can obliterate this boss in one fell swoop, leaving Luigi to shout, "Yay for me, Luigi!" before entering the next open room, which was apparently so confusing Luigi forgot Peach and Bowser Jr. were there. Thus wrapping up World 6, a world that managed to incorporate past worlds' themes while adding onto them in fresh and exciting ways. The mountaintops themselves were also a joy to explore, and with a boss as cool as the Monty Tank, there's a lot to love. While this world does lead to World 8, we still need to cover the alternate world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when we visit World 7.